Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Fireflies of 14 online. Oh, really? Why not? Ere I forget, I believe Von Brita has requested a gathering of the Scions. I assume there has been some progress concerning our efforts to combat the Asians. Pray inform her that our business with the Ishgardians is concluded for the moment. I shall be along once I've completed my communication with the Crystal Braves. All done with your talk of dragons? Wonderful, because Asians are next on the menu. Let's head into the cellar, shall we? Just leave this place and go back. I really don't even know what the benefit of permanent myself in Immortal Flames does, but oh well, whatever. Somebody.
Now that everything's calmed down a bit, relatively speaking I mean, I thought it might be a good time to share our progress on the weapon. I believe we're on the verge of a breakthrough.
Well, don't keep us all in suspense.
Just in case anyone's forgotten, let's start by reviewing what we already know. So, an Asian is an immortal because its soul doesn't return to the ethereal realm when its host is defeated. Instead, it flees to the place that lies between our world and the void. Therefore, the first step to permanently defeating an Asian is preventing its soul from making this journey. And if you recall, when we last gathered here, I had verified that white auracite has adequate capacity to entrap the beams, albeit only briefly.
Which left the small matter of their extermination.
Aye. To unmake an Asian soul, one must needs smite it with a concentrated burst, or blade, of purest ether. However, we wanted for both the data and the means to forge such a weapon.
Short of experimenting on an actual Asian, you see, there's no way to gauge how much ether its soul is made of. As such, we don't know what etheric density our blade needs to have in order for it to work.
So we'll just have to make the densest blade we can and hope for the best. Though that would require a lot of ether. Hang on a minute! Why didn't we think of this before? White auracite can hold an absolute heap of ether, can't it?
Please tell me you're joking. God's sakes, Ida. I feel as though I'm reliving the same scene over and over with you. How many times do you need to be told that white auracite cannot store ether for long periods? Being intangible matter, ether is given to dispersion. Only in its crystallized form is it a stable source of energy. I will test you later on this, so see to it you do not forget.
Right, yes. It's all coming back to me.
So our hopes rest on good old crystals again, do they? While they are certainly reliable, they leave something to be desired in the area of portability.
Indeed. I am reminded of the quantity of corrupted crystals required to thwart Leviathan, and the extraordinary lengths to which the Lamentsons went to transport them. What if it should prove that a similar quantity was needed to destroy an Ascian soul? Or still more?
I do not envy the poor sod who has to lug all of that around, on the off chance that an Ascian appears.
That's the very problem we set out to solve. And I reckon we've found the answer. If it isn't practical to lug around the ether we need, we'll just have to draw upon another source. And the only viable source is the land.
If you mean to tap the great river of ether, know that it will entail considerable risk. Meddling with the currents may well induce a surge like to the one which despoiled Mordona.
Give me a bit more credit, will you? Why would we need to tap the river when there are veritable reservoirs jutting out all over the land? I speak of corrupted crystals. It might be that their aspect is out of balance, but a crystal's a crystal. It contains ether, and we can help ourselves to it.
While corrupted crystals are indeed abundant, there is no guarantee that they will be in close proximity at a crucial moment.
But what if we don't need them to be? What if we could tap their power from afar? A malm away, say? If we could do that, we'd have ready access to ether aplenty in almost every corner of Eorzea. I've yet to put my theories to the proof, but I've got a good feeling about this. If no one has any objections, I'd like to see where this avenue leads.
If you think it worth your while, you have my blessing. But tell us, what are your theories? I, for one, am most eager to understand the process, however vaguely.
I thought you might say that, but no one wants to listen to boring old theories all day, do they? I know I don't. So with your permission, I'd like to try something a bit more hands-on. I've already built an etheric siphon especially for this purpose, and I've been meaning to try it out. Thing is, the profusion of corrupted crystals in Mordona makes it something of a high-risk testing ground. If anything goes awry with the siphon, it would be better if it didn't happen within spitting distance of quite so much ether. Ideally, I need an isolated specimen. Does anyone know where I can find one?
May I suggest northern Thanalan? There you will find corrupted crystals of middling size, standing a reasonable distance apart. Ideal for your needs, I should have thought. Oh, and if you do elect to visit the place, I should be much obliged if you would assist me in another matter while you are in the area.
Has something happened?
Movement has been observed at Castrum Meridianum. During Operation Archon, the Alliance dealt the stronghold a heavy blow. Its facilities were extensively damaged, and its garrison reduced to a fraction of its former strength. Not long after our forces withdrew, however, their ranks were replenished by reinforcements from Castrum's sentry. They now seek to rebuild, and to this end they have their sights set upon the ceruleum processing plant. Having lost the Empire's support, the 14th Legion lacks the resources to sustain itself. To them, this is a bid for survival, and they will doubtless fight like desperate men. Though I have dispatched the Crystal Braves, I fear their strength alone may not suffice to stay the Imperial assault. I would request the Scion's aid in the defensive effort.
If I didn't know better, I'd say you were trying to inveigle us into fighting your battle with the promise of shiny crystals. Well then, consider me inveigled. I won't lie, the crystals you speak of sound perfect, so the Garleans have to go. Besides, we can't afford to beat about the bush. There's no telling when the Arcians will next appear.
Thine eagerness to hurl thyself into the jaws of danger cometh as little surprise. Exercise due caution, I prithee.
Though you have become a crystal brave, you are yet a scion, Alphino. We could hardly refuse you. Pray, join the Crystal Braves and lend them your support. Thangred and Papalimo shall accompany you. Ida and Yashtola, in the meantime I would have you assist Moonbreeder. Scout out the crystal clusters, that the testing may commence as soon as the Gallian threat has been eliminated.
If it please you, I shall continue mine own experiments on white orosite.
Thank you, Arianger. Everyone, pray see to your preparations and depart as soon as you are able. Go well, and be safe.
Sorry, I can't join guilds. I play rather unreliably. As everybody involved in the party would know. It would seem that events have once more conspired to root us, or rob us of rest and recuperation. Though I'd wished it otherwise, I must ask that you head straight away to the processing plant. The Fourth have already deployed to the area and await the arrival of the Scions. Wilbert will brief you on the developing situation. Meanwhile, I must rendezvous with Captain Ilbert at our headquarters in Ulda. I shall take command of our forces there with a lighter heart, knowing that you go to support the front lines. Well, I kind of want to go out there anyway. Your duties take you to Northern Thunland, do they not? We too must say our farewells to the Rising Stones for a time. Finamin travels to Ulda, and we shall serve as her escort. At my daughter's behest, I go to contact certain old acquaintances in the Gilded City. We are beset on all sides by civil unrest and imperial machinations, threatened by primals and troubled by dragons. We need all the allies we can muster. Many of my friends hold positions of power, you see, and it is my hope that they can be convinced to aid the Scion's cause. If past events have taught us anything, then we know that Eosia must present a united front, or we shall fail. Ah, how extraordinary that my little Celia is involved in such a far-reaching affairs. I am proud that I may now stand at her side, not only as a mother, but also as a colleague. A colleague with influential connections, but I fear that Ulda has become a place of danger even for one so familiar with her streets. Bah! Woe betide the blackguard that so much as glares in your direction, milady. I shall be well protected, it seems. Shall we be on our way, then? how it has been. Just doesn't fly. Item total. Okay. Where are we off to now? Oh yes, our favorite place to gather flame seals. Commander Levia sent word that you'd be coming. A veteran of your talents is most welcome. Not that I don't think we can handle the situation, mind you. I have learned a trick or two since the disaster with the Amalja. But returning to the task at hand. The Flames reconnaissance scouts have reported Imperial soldiers assembling at Brabant's push. Such a force is likely interested in only one thing, getting their hands on the resources found here at the processing plant. The colonies can begin marching on us at any time, and I think it's time we speak with Lieutenant Aglathine to finalize our counter-strategy. This doesn't look any better. Sergeant Neampeder, my soldiers yet tell tales of your deeds during Operation Archon. Would that we could sit a while and reminisce about old times. Are the Gallians on the move, then? Not as such. The civilian Draughtsmen have, however, come across several highly suspicious crates within the boundaries of the processing plant. I had my sappers take a closer look, and worse fears were confirmed that boxes contain powerful explosive devices of Imperial design, no less. From inside the plant, you say? But how? We've had guards stationed around the perimeter day and night. It is likely the plant was infiltrated long before the Braves arrived. Master Thancred, have the Scions come into force then? All who can be spared, yes. Now, there are likely more of these Imperial explosives about the place, so I suggest we spread out and conduct a thorough sweep of the compound. Considering the volatile nature of the ceruleum, allowing even one such device to escape our search may lead us to enjoy an uncomfortably close view of a rather spectacular explosion. Right then, I'll pass word to the fourth. What exactly should we do with these crates should we find them? Bring them here to me. Carefully, mind you. My samples will render the devices harmless, as they did with the first batch we found. Very well, let's get started, shall we? And I'm just sitting there. Exploding boxes, yay. Should you discover any containers that appear out of place, then hand them to me. My sappers will determine whether or not these objects are explosive, and then disarm them should they prove to be so. There were 4 more of those blasted things. I'll have engineers disassemble them at once. Fine work as always, Sergeant Neometer. The entire compound has now been scoured top to bottom, so I should hope that that's the last we've seen of these explosives. All troubles with Castrum Meridianum, however, are far from over. Scouts have returned with news of movement on the front. We've been keeping a close eye on the Garland garrisons. It would seem the Imperials have finally begun to mobilize. According to the reconnaissance reports that just came in, the squads seen leaving the Castrum are too few in number to effectively take and hold our position. They will likely mount a swift assault and focus on the acquisition of resources. I have, of course, also shared this report with the Crystal Braves. They have decided to take to the field to meet their assault head-on. Pray report to Lieutenant Alian and lend your much welcome strength to the counteroffensive. Glad to have you with us, Miamrai. As I'm sure Lieutenant Idlestein has explained, the Garleans have deployed a small force from Castrum Meridianum. Their main column assembles to the north near Dalaman's Talons, but we've also spied several squads attempting to conceal themselves on the approach to the west. We wish you to rush forth and commit to battle with the main column, leaving the detached force free to raid the plant and pillage supplies. Not much of a strategy, but these are desperate men. Captain Ilgrid. Greetings, Scion. I understand the commander bids you and your fellows come lend a hand to the Braves. With such mighty heroes at its disposal, the foe should have little trouble contending with aught the Garleans' might thrown at them. But even you cannot be ever at once. The third was getting restless holed up in Ul'dah, so I marched them out of here to fill any holes in the plant's defenses and add their number to your counterattack. The reinforcements are welcome. We've enough soldiers now to divide our own forces and safely engage the enemy far beyond the walls. It would be best to avoid staging a battle anywhere near this much cerulean. Let's take this fight to the Garleans. A wise course indeed. I shudder to think the consequences should any of these storage tanks be exposed to fire. If there are no objections, the Scion shall join the 4th and give battle to this main column. Go with the 3rd then, Warrior of Light. Your job will be to intercept these squads hiding out in the west and prevent them from reaching the processing plant. When you're ready to proceed, report to Lieutenant Iyuhase. His scouts should have a rough idea where the Imperials have concealed themselves by now. Pleasure to be fighting at your side once more, Scion. Our operations invariably succeed when you're around, and victories are wont to pave the road to greater coin. Now, this detached force we've been sent to eliminate has split into smaller squads, the better to conceal themselves within the terrain hereabouts, I imagine. We'll need to split ourselves up as well to cover more ground and make sure we root out all of these would-be raiders. And seeing as you're an army unto yourself, I've assigned you your own areas to scour clean of enemy soldiers. This will be a simple search and destroy. We'll rendezvous back here when the task is done. Happy hunting, Scion. hate the colors they use. I can barely see them. Probably my colorblind is striking at me once again. Stay away from that one. 150, but he's way tougher than he looks. You seem grim, Scion. I take it to mean that between us, more than a few Garleans won't be making it back to the cast room. These Imperials, though, they certainly made us earn our pay. I would be a happy man if I never had to tussle with another of those magic horrors. It is time we bid this war-torn land farewell. I will contact the Fourth and let Lieutenant Alian know the West is now clear. I would appreciate it if you would do the same when you report to Lieutenant Idleston. Sergeant Niamapur, what news of the Garleans? Their wedding parties are no more then? Excellent. The Imagina engineers will be most relieved to hear that the plant is no longer in any immediate danger. Thank you again for your assistance. You must be anxious for word of your fellows. Lieutenant Alian has reported a sound victory over the main column, and informed me that the Scions have already turned their attention to the other duties. All but one, that is. The Roglodin Taddy, with the large axe, it would appear she has chosen to remain at the site of the battle. I know not what task keeps her from returning to civilization, but northern Thanland is no place to wander alone, even for a capable sort such as her. I would certainly feel better about things if you could check on her before you continue on your way. Silisks.
on, I won't be a second. The beast seemed peckish, so I gave it a taste of my axe. I know, as Urianger never tires of reminding me. An axe ill becometh the hand of a scholar. What can I say? I like axes. To hear my mother tell it, I came into this world holding one. And it's not as if it stopped me picking up a quill, is it? I often think of the man who introduced me to the joys of learning. He's one of the reasons I decided to come to Eorzea. Him and my excruciatingly stiff childhood friend. Considering how unalike we are, it's a wonder we ever got on. The world's a strange old place, isn't it? Aye, that ought to do it. So far, so good. At these concentrations, it shouldn't matter too much if something goes awry. Just enough ether to make it interesting. Did you see that? The way the crystal glowed? The siphon works, I'm happy to say. With a few refinements, it should satisfy our appetite for ether, which just leaves the small matter of forging our blade.